I pushed the FDA like they have never been pushed before. I pushed the FDA like they have never been pushed before.
Hey, what's going on, folks? Today's show is going to be an eye-opening one. Is Donald Trump going to be the fall guy for vaccines?
And look, I guess in a certain way, I'm the father of the vaccine because I was the one that pushed it.
It looks like it in the news. They're starting to report that Donald Trump sought to pressure the FDA on COVID vaccines, claiming that Donald Trump pushed the FDA away from their plan to extend safety studies on coronavirus vaccines in fall of 2020. Now, we know here not to just believe the media, right? Of course, all mass media now is blaming Donald Trump for pressuring the FDA into rushing the COVID vaccines. I don't believe the media, but I do believe Donald Trump's big goofy mouth when he's constantly bragged about doing this over and over and over again.
I pushed them like they've never been pushed before, and that's why we have it.
The greatest achievements was getting the vaccine done in 9 months instead of 5.5 to 12 years. But the problem is, we saved tens of millions of lives all over the world, but I can't talk about it because our beautiful base, of which some of you are there, you get angry when we mention the word vaccine. Don't get angry.
You did everything you could to get this vaccine out. I know where you stand on the vaccine.
It was one of the greatest achievements. We did it in less than 9 months.
To be able to do that.
Yeah,
but now it's taken a twist, right?
And then people don't want it. And it probably even affects the others because, there's a big situation with a lot of people don't want to take the vaccine. Well, this played right into their hands. And they want me to do public service messages and everything about everybody taking the vaccine. And look, I guess in a certain way, I'm the father of the vaccine because I was the one that pushed it. To get it done in less than 9 months was a miracle. Fauci said it would take 3 to 5 years. He thought it was something that just wouldn't be that effective because it would take so long to get. I pushed the FDA like they have never been pushed before. I wouldn't exactly say they're in love with me. They have never, this is a very bureaucratic organization. I pushed them like they've never been pushed before, and that's why we have it.
The vaccine is one of the greatest achievements of mankind. We would have had in 1917, remember the Spanish flu, killed perhaps 100 million people. Can you imagine if you had to go through what all of the countries of the world who are now getting the vaccine or soon will be getting it, from various companies, but can you imagine if all of those countries had to go through what they've been going through over the last year? You'd lose hundreds of millions of people.
Let the teachers get the vaccine. They should get the vaccine. I hope they do. Again, it's something I'm very proud of. I think if we didn't come up during the Trump administration with a vaccine, you could have 100 million people dead, just like you had in 1917.
Donald Trump is proud of rushing the FDA to get this out years ahead of schedule. At one point, the media even reported that the White House threatened to fire the FDA chief unless the Pfizer COVID vaccine was approved by Friday, putting pressure on a regulatory agency to get a vaccine out to the masses. Donald Trump is the father of the vaccine. He brags constantly, lies about it constantly, saying it saved 100 million lives and it's the greatest human achievement in history. He absolutely deserves credit for every single side effect, injury, and death from the COVID vaccine because he's on camera elated about pushing the FDA ahead of schedule.
I pushed them like they've never been pushed before, and that's why we have it.
Most people won't be able to handle this live stream, but who cares? We're live.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
The vaccine is one of the greatest achievements of mankind. The vaccine is one of the greatest achievements of mankind.
And look, I guess in a certain way, I'm the father of the vaccine because I was the one that pushed it. And look, I guess in a certain way, I'm the father of the vaccine because I was the one that pushed it. Let the teachers get the vaccine. They should get the vaccine. I hope they do. Again, it's something I'm very proud of. I think if we didn't come up during the Trump administration with a vaccine, you could have 100 million people.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining today. So the reason I'm talking about this is because there's mainstream media reports, Washington Post. I've seen like 6 different mainstream media. They're now trying to frame it as if Trump pushed the vaccine too fast, and it's starting to look like they're going to make Donald Trump the fall guy for the vaccine. A lot of people saw this coming. I'd heard this theory of people that I know that talk to the Trump family, etc. They would tell me anomaly, like what I'm worried about is eventually when the information comes out about the vaccine, if it's not as good as they said it was, they're then going to point to Trump and say it's his fault because he rushed it. It's his fault. He's the father of the vaccine. And it looks like the media is actually starting to do that. They're starting to say, I have the Washington Post report here, I'm going to read it, but they're starting to frame it as Trump rushed the FDA and the FDA was trying to do more safety trials and it was Donald Trump who pushed them. The problem is, although of course I don't like the media, Donald Trump, like I just showed you guys for people who were there since the beginning, he's on camera bragging about this constantly. He tells people it would have been years if the FDA would have gone through their normal trials, but he's so proud of rushing them to get this out to the public quickly. So, very fascinating story. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about why I think that's bad. But first, let's just revisit some old posts from left-wing, right-wing, and vaccine people. This is what they were originally telling us, right? This is Albert Bourla, CEO of Pfizer. He said on, I guess that would be April 1st. I don't know if it was an April 1st joke. Maybe he was joking, but April Fools. He said, excited to share that updated analysis from our phase 3 study with BioNTech that shows our COVID vaccine was 100% effective in preventing COVID-19 cases in South Africa. That might have been the trial you went through, but unfortunately that trial did not work in America because once everyone got the vaccine, it wasn't 100% effective. Here's an independent headline from a couple, I guess that's from, what does that say? 2/8/2021. So that was February 28th. Says all 3 vaccines are 100% effective against death and hospitalization, Fauci says. That's what he said. Obviously, maybe then, the media will fact check that. They probably changed the headline, but I did look on Twitter. This is a real headline. They were telling us this in February, right? Let's move forward to the CDC director, the trusted CDC. Of course, there's that video of her saying that data suggests that vaccinated people do not carry the virus. And of course, Donald Trump continues to lie about his grandfather vaccine or whatever he calls himself, the father vaccine. He credits himself with saving 100 million lives with his warp speed effort. So he wants to brainwash the MAGA base into thinking hundreds of millions of people were saved when I rushed the FDA to bring this out. The point that I'm getting with all of this stuff is now this is becoming very obvious that it's not true. Most people are not getting a booster shot. Kid vaccines are available and the majority of people are not getting them. Why aren't people getting them? I can't speak for everybody or every family, but I think just in my own personal circle, people that are pro-vaccine that got the vaccine, a lot of people feel duped. And they don't feel duped because of conspiracy theories. They don't feel duped because of Alex Jones. They feel duped because they thought that this was going to, get rid of the masks. They thought this was going to stop them from getting sick. They wanted immunity and they didn't really get that. And if they did, it didn't last long enough for it to really matter too much for a lot of people. And some people feel like, what they were promised and what they got were 2 different things. So it looks like a lot of people are not getting it based off of that. That's just that I've seen in my personal life. So here's where it gets interesting. Now that a majority of the public is starting to realize left wing, right wing, pro-Trump, anti-Trump, got the vaccine, didn't get the vaccine, a lot of people are not interested in getting like booster shots for the next 20, 30 years of their life. So now the media starts to shift the argument and say, well, Trump pressured the FDA, and here's the Washington Post article on it today. They're starting to frame Trump as the fall guy. Very predictable. Sadly, he really walked into this one. We all warned him for years. He didn't listen, whatever. This is Washington Post. It says, Trump officials repeatedly stalled the Food and Drug Administration's plan to extend safety studies of coronavirus vaccines in fall 2020 as President Donald Trump pressed the agency for a faster timeline so his vaccines could be authorized before Election Day, according to emails, text messages, and interviews conducted by a congressional panel probing the pandemic response. So they're now probing Trump and finding out that he rushed and pressed the FDA to get it done before election. And here's the thing, as I played earlier, I'm not going to be a broken record, but Trump, I might just play the beginning of it so you can see. Trump has bragged. It's not like they even have to look at his emails. He's on camera saying, I rushed the FDA. I rushed Fauci. It's me. I'm the father of the vaccine. That's why I laugh at people like Steve Cortez in the Trump administration, because he's on Twitter hating on the vaccine and calling it the Fauci vaccine. And it's like, call it what you want. I don't care. Call it a Fauci ouchie. Ooh, I got my Fauci ouchie. Ooh, I got my Trumpy pumpy. I don't care what you call it. I call it the mRNA Trumpy pumpies and the Johnson & Johnson double pumpy. But if you want to call it the Fauci ouchie, that's fine. The point that I find so funny about it is because most of Trump's base does not think the vaccine is great, they want to act as if he's not even a part of it. They always spiral and say, well, he didn't mandate it. That's true, but there's a big equation that goes into this that's not just mandates. Mandates is only one piece of the puzzle, right? So I just find it funny that Trump's always on stage being like, I did it. I'm the one. I rushed the FDA. It wasn't Fauci. It wasn't the FDA. It was me. I'm the father of vaccines. I saved the world. The greatest human achievement. And his advisors, it's like, they're just like, oh, it was just Fauci. It wasn't Trump. He's like, no, give me credit. And they're like, no, it was Fauci. And he's like, please, he's like begging his audience. He's like, please give me credit for the vaccine. I'm so pig-headed. I'm so stubborn. I want the credit. And his own supporters won't give him credit because they like him and they know that the rollout of Operation Warp Speed was corrupt and terrible. But once again, now Washington Post, they're starting to say, well, Trump rushed it through safety trials, right? Trump rushed the FDA through safety trials. And what can you really say when he's on camera 15 times being like, yes, I rushed the FDA. Yes, I'm so proud of getting this out. We're going to get into why that's pretty nefarious here, regardless of whether you like Trump or not. Probably most of my audience does. You have to understand why Trump is part of this evil scheme, even though he didn't mandate it. I don't care if he's better than Biden. I don't care if you voted for him. I voted for him. This is the truth. When he got elected in 2016, 2017, before he got into office, it's on public records, he took $1 million from Pfizer. People think Trump is this stupid idiot who's just always getting fooled by Jared Kushner or something. He's so smart, he's just so dumb. That's what like his biggest supporters say. He doesn't know anything. He knows everything, guys. He's not stupid. He's not an idiot. You guys baby him because you can't fathom the fact that he might have sold you out. But before he got into office, he's on Twitter questioning safety of vaccines. He was questioning the mainstream narrative. He knows about Del Bigtree. He knows about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Donald Trump is not a big doofy baby. He knows all about vaccines. He just decided to, I guess, take $1 million from Pfizer. Okay, that's interesting. Whatever. I'm not saying he sold out because of it, but he did take $1 million from Pfizer, Bank of America, and others for his inauguration. Then what happened a couple months after he got $1 million from Pfizer? He picked the head of Human Health Services, HHS, Human Health Services, or whatever it stands for, something along those lines, is the health agency. It's even a bigger responsibility than even Fauci. I mean, you think Fauci has a lot of power? The head of the HHS probably even supersedes him in what they're allowed to do with their power. And Donald Trump chose an ex-pharmacy lobbyist from Eli Lilly and an ex-pharmacy executive, Alex Azar. He chose a pharmacy lobbyist and a pharmacy executive to run the entire health industry. What do you think? You guys are smart. I know my audience isn't dumb. What do you think happens when you give big pharma's one of their top guys the entire health industry? Do you think you're going to get freedom and prosperity and totally unbiased health and good food? Or do you think you're going to get pills and vaccines and more corruption? What do you think, knowing big pharma? Do you think you're going to get peace, love, and just, non-GMO foods and organic stuff? Or do you think you're going to get vaccines? Come on, use your brain, folks. When you give the entire health agency to a pharmacy lobbyist, you're going to get 2020. It's inevitable. Okay, let's fast forward, okay? Feel free to fact check me on all this stuff. In 2019, Trump signs an executive order that is claiming to modernize influenza vaccinations. This is before the lockdown. There's reports, you could Google this as well. Bill Gates claims that Donald Trump gave him a position in the White House and offered him a science advisor position. There's videos that show Bill Gates explaining that he told Trump to back away from like the RFK stuff and go more towards, I guess, being a science hero and modernizing vaccines. So I don't know if Donald Trump truly gave Bill Gates a position in the White House or tried to, but we'll never know because most people who interview Trump on the right just want to lick the dirt off of his shoe and claim it was tiramisu. They don't want to ask him real questions or do real journalism. They just want to act like he never did any of this stuff. So anyway, once 2019 rolls around, Donald Trump passes an executive order for Big Pharma. If you haven't yet, if you haven't seen one of my videos on it where I read it aloud, I implore you to Google Executive Order Modernizing Influenza Vaccines, Donald Trump, and read his 2019 executive order before the pandemic even started. It talks about bringing almost all of government together. It complains about how people aren't getting enough flu vaccines every summer or every winter. And it has this new strategy that the White House is pulling together the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security, the CDC, the FDA. It's pulling the entire government together to be like, how do we get people more vaccines, right? How do we modernize the technology? Because the old technology isn't really, isn't up to date. So anyway, he does that. I'm not saying for the fact checkers and the idiots who'll try to cover this video up, I'm not saying that correlates to 2020, but also a lot of that language was kind of rolled out in 2020, like the task force. I've never heard task force before in my life, but then there's a coronavirus task force. There was a vaccine task force in that executive order from 2019, and then all of a sudden there is a coronavirus task force. I'm not saying they planned it. I'm not saying it's the same thing, but I do see striking similarities. Anyway, so January comes around, Trump strikes a deal with Moderna, according to Ivanka Trump. March rolls around, or actually before March, let's stick to January. In January, the emergency for coronavirus was declared. This is where it gets interesting, folks. Don't get angry. Don't scream about mandates. Don't spiral. Listen to what I'm about to say if you want to learn the truth, okay? In January, who declared the emergency? Alex Azar had the power to declare emergency. Who's Alex Azar? If you remember earlier in my speech a few minutes ago, Alex Azar was the pharmacy lobbyist / pharmacy executive that Donald Trump gave the power of the entire health industry. So it was a pharmacy lobbyist / executive working for Donald Trump who declared the emergency in the first place. This is where it gets interesting. Under an emergency, there's something called the PrEP Act that was passed during George Bush but still stands to this day. The PrEP Act allows vaccine manufacturers and other experimental drugs no liability for side effects, injuries, and deaths. So now, because of Operation Warp Speed, because Donald Trump rushed it so fast, now Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson have no liability for side effects, injuries, and deaths under the PrEP Act. Why was there the PrEP Act? How did that get triggered? By the emergency. Who declared the emergency? The pharmacy lobbyist executive guy that Trump gave all the power to. So do you get what I'm saying? Now you have this massive liability shield, so they know if they can rush a vaccine pretty quickly, no matter how long it takes, if they could do it within a few years, those vaccines will have no liability for side effects, injuries, and deaths. I'm going to ask you a question and you can answer it yourself in your head. Do you think that Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and Donald Trump would have been so gung-ho about rushing a vaccine if they had to pay compensation for every side effect, injury, and death? I bet you they wouldn't have. I bet you they wouldn't have wanted to rush so fast. And in some cases, these reports are saying that the FDA actually didn't want to rush that fast. And if you listen to Donald Trump speak, he admits in his speeches that they didn't want to rush it that fast because it doesn't make sense to rush it that fast sometimes. There's a reason that they take years on vaccine trials. They don't do it just to wait a long time. They do it because they want to make sure that the product is safe. They want to do it because they want to make sure that the product works. And they rushed it so much that they told you, I know I have all the articles here, they told you it was 100% effective in a trial. Well, that ended up not being really true for the big trial that mattered. They said that the data suggests that vaccinated people do not carry the virus. If this would have taken a couple of years to develop and a couple of years to test, that would have been a good thing. That would have mean they could do more trials. That would have mean they had more long-term data. It would have been great. But Donald Trump, the pig-headed vaccine salesman who conned his base into corruption, is so proud of bullying the FDA into releasing it earlier. So this is what I'm going to say before I continue my report, is every single side effect, injury, and death from the COVID vaccine, Donald Trump deserves credit for. He's the father of the vaccine. He wanted it rushed out faster than Fauci and the FDA. Not only is the FDA and the new White House now starting to look into the fact that Trump rushed it, he doesn't really have a defense like he usually has because he's on camera bragging about doing it. So congratulations, Donald Trump. You're lying to your base when you say it saved 100 million lives. I'm going to tell you because I respect you as a man, and I'm going to tell you because I respect myself as a man, and I'm going to tell you because I respect my country over you, okay? You're lying, Donald Trump, when you say the vaccine saved 100 million lives. There's no data that claims the vaccine saved 100 million lives. Your vaccine didn't save 100 million lives. You're a pig-headed liar, okay? You're a joke, okay? You're lying to your base, and everybody knows it. Everybody agrees with me that it didn't save 100 million lives. Nobody thinks it saved 100 million lives, yet for some reason, your brainwashed base just lets you sit on stage and lie to their face, and they just make excuses for it. Well, I respect myself, and I respect my country too much to just watch you lie about this for 3 years. The vaccine that you rushed through the FDA safety trials didn't save 100 million lives. Nobody else thinks that. Nobody else says that. You're a cold-faced, bold-headed liar, and you should feel ashamed of yourself from the bottom of your soul for conning so many people into somehow allowing you to keep lying about such an important topic, okay? And when it comes to rushing the vaccine, I wonder, Donald Trump, if you would have been so gung-ho about rushing it to the public if you had to pay out of your bank account for everybody that got a side effect or injury. I bet you wouldn't have wanted to rush it so fast, would you have? Probably not. Would Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson wanted to rush it so fast if they would have had to pay for side effects and injuries? Of course not. But why didn't they have side effects in industries? Because your pharmacy lobbyist / executive that you put at the head of the HHS declared an emergency, gave them cover for PrEP Act, and then alleging, according to you, you rushed it years ahead of schedule. Congratulations, Donald Trump. Every side effect, injury, and death from the COVID vaccine that the media is covering it up, blood is on your hands, buddy. I don't care how many people lie. I don't care how many people buy your merch. I don't care how many people get mad at my video. What I'm doing now is honest. What I'm saying now is true. What I'm saying now is righteous, and you should feel it at the bottom of your soul what you're doing. Because now that you've been so stubborn and you've been bragging about the vaccine for 2 years straight and you want credit so bad for it, they're finally giving you credit in the Washington Post, but not how you think. They're admitting that you rushed them through safety trials, and now they're going to pin it on you when they try to say, well, it didn't work as good as we thought it was, so it's Donald Trump's fault because he was the one that rushed it. And you really don't have a defense, buddy, because you're on camera 15 times saying you rushed it. Speaking about in 2020, 2021, as this stuff was unveiling, there's an interesting clip of Bill Gates that I've played multiple times, and I'm going to play it again because although Bill Gates, no offense, Bill Gates, if you're watching this, I hope you're not, but if you are, we don't see the world the same, Bill Gates. We don't view, the future the same, and I disagree with you and most of your agenda and policy and almost everything you do. But one thing that I do appreciate about Bill, although I disagree with almost everything he does in the world, is the fact that he actually sometimes admits the truth on camera for some reason. I guess he just says it, and I have it documented. So here's Bill Gates, when he was pressed about side effects from the vaccine early on. Keep in mind, these are not updated trials. These are early trials. But, he says a lot of interesting stuff here, whether he means to or not. But I watch it. Check it out.
The Moderna vaccine sound concerning. We looked. After the second dose, at least 80% of participants experienced a systemic side effect, ranging from severe chills to fevers. So, are these vaccines safe?
Well, the FDA, not being pressured, will look hard at that. The FDA is the gold standard of regulators. And their current guidance on this, if they stick with that, is very, very appropriate. And the side effects were not super severe. That is, it didn't cause permanent health problems for the things there. Moderna did have to go with a fairly high dose, and so to get the antibodies. Some of the other vaccines are able to go with lower doses to get responses that are pretty high, including the J&J and the Pfizer. And so there's a lot of characteristics of these vaccines. It's great that we have multiple of them that are
Bill,
going out there. And yes, I think
you know the data
US
better than I do. But the data showed that everybody with a high dose had a side effect.
Yeah, but some of that is not dramatic, where it's just super painful. But yes, we need to make sure there's not severe side effects. The FDA, I think, will do a good job of that, despite the pressure.
How many doses?
So it's an interesting, because I think that was earlier in 2020. I believe that was in 2020 when Trump was still in office. I could be wrong. It could be early 2021, but I'm almost positive that was in 2020. Those were earlier studies. So what's fascinating about that is Bill Gates, that lady's kind of pressing him and being like, a lot of people were experiencing something. And Bill Gates is like, it's not that bad. And that's pretty much all he's saying, and a little bit of other stuff. But, he says he thinks the FDA will do a good job despite being pressured. And Donald Trump's on camera saying, I'm the one pressuring the FDA. So now, like we predicted years ago, now that the real information is coming in and, it's getting to the point where most people are seeing through it, they're just throwing Trump under the bus and being like, well, he's the one that pressured the FDA. He's the reason. And I believe if I keep playing that out in that clip, Bill Gates talks about the trade-off when you have a pandemic. During an emergency, there's a trade-off. Like the trade-off for this, I don't know if they're going to fully admit it all the time, but are there long-term human trials for these mRNA vaccines that go 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? I mean, in some cases, there probably are some sort of trial that they've been doing for years. But for the most part, when it comes to the COVID vaccine, there is no long-term trial of what happens in 5 years to 10 to 100 million people. You are the long-term trial. We are the long-term trial, which makes it fascinating because they wanted to pretty much get rid of the placebo group, it seems like, and tell everybody that they need to mandate it to get it. It's like, how are we going to have 10-year long-term trials if there is no placebo group? I always thought that was kind of odd. But in general, it's like, there is a trade-off when you're rushing something to the public. The trade-off is, we're doing the best that we can with the safety data, efficacy data, etc. But as we go on, we'll find out more of what happens in the future. Real quick, before I wrap this up, I'm going to play another clip that I found fascinating and telling. I just want to wrap up exactly what I'm saying, make it extremely clear for those who are smart enough, honest enough, and calm enough to listen, and for those enough who don't want to listen, who have cognitive dissonance because they think it's a blue versus red thing, and they don't understand at this moment that there is a lot of things that Trump is complicit on in this scam and scheme, rather, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to just wrap it up for those who are honest enough to listen, okay? So the media today is starting to run massive amounts of reports. I mean, dozens of reports that Donald Trump rushed the FDA. That's what they're saying. Donald Trump rushed the FDA. Donald Trump pushed them around safety studies, and Donald Trump pressured them, and at one point even threatened to fire the FDA director if they didn't get out the vaccine before the election because Donald Trump wanted credit for it. Unfortunately for Donald Trump, he's on camera saying he did this multiple times. So it's not like a theory that they have. He proudly did it, and he wants credit for the vaccines rushing to public so fast. He's even made the statement that it probably would have taken years. Me, as somebody that understands how safety works, I think it's a good idea to take years. I'm not brainwashed into thinking like, oh, I like this guy, so now my brain doesn't work. It's like, no, I think it's great that a lot of vaccines take 4 years. I would have rather this one take 4 years. And since Donald Trump wants credit for rushing the FDA and getting it out in a couple months, he also has to own every side effect, injury, and death that perhaps could have been solved or avoided if they would have done the safety trials that they wanted. So that's what they're accusing Donald Trump of. They're trying to make him the vaccine injury fall guy now, and he deserves every bit of it because he wants all the credit. He's the father of the vaccine. He thinks it's the greatest human achievement. He hasn't talked about side effects and injuries because he's so in on the corruption that he doesn't want to talk about it. He just wants to lie to his base and brainwash them into thinking he saved 100 million lives. He's a fraud. He's lying. You could get mad at me all you want, but what I'm saying is true, and what he says is a lie. So you have to reconcile with yourself why you just put up with his lies and you're mad at my truth. That's for you to figure out in your own ego and your own soul. Because when Donald Trump goes on television and says his vaccine saved 100 million lives, he's lying. That's a lie. Everybody, that's a lie, whether you get mad at my video or not. That's lying. He's a liar, okay? What I'm saying is true about because he put a pharmacy lobbyist that declared an emergency that triggered the PrEP Act. Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and Donald Trump have no liability for side effects, injuries, and deaths, so he doesn't care if he rushes it because he doesn't have to pay out of his pocket. And I would think if Trump or Pfizer, Moderna, or J&J had to pay out of their pocket for every person that got hurt from their product that they warp speeded to the public, I bet you they wouldn't want to warp speed it to the public. So you have to reconcile with yourself why what I'm saying bothers you so much, and it is what it is. So when it comes to vaccines, Donald Trump didn't mandate them. This is true. This is a good thing. This is why I vote Republican, right? When I vote Republican in November, I understand if Democrats ran the whole country, I think this country would look like communist China. I think lockdowns would have lasted for years. If every county was Democrat, I watched a Republican and a Democrat county in Los Angeles to Orange County, I watched the difference. In Orange County, people were eating inside for years. In Los Angeles, they were acting like prisoners for 2 years, even though it's like not even that far from each other. So I absolutely think the Republican Party is worth a vote, because if this entire government was run by Democrats, Democrat Supreme Court, Democrat governors, Democrat mayors, Democrat counties, I think this entire country would be like communist China. I think we would have locked down for years. I think it would have been way worse. So I understand the Republican Party's better. I'm not stupid. I'm not a fool. With that being said, people think just because the Democrats are so corrupt that Trump didn't do anything wrong because he didn't mandate it, so he's out of the corruption completely, because the only bad thing about the vaccine is the mandate. That's not true. That's a lie. That's something that you tell yourself when you're not able to see the false paradigm and call it out for what it is and be logical about it. Just because Donald Trump didn't mandate it doesn't mean he's not in on the corruption, and doesn't mean he shouldn't own all the side effects, injuries, and deaths that they're covering up completely. He put a pharmacy lobbyist there. He passed an executive order in 2019. He signed a deal with Moderna in January. And perhaps most importantly, which the media is now blaming him for, which he admits he did on camera, is he strong-armed or tried to strong-arm the FDA into rushing a product that they wanted to take years of safety trials for to come out in a couple months. He wants credit for that. He deserves credit for that, because that's what he did apparently. That's what he claims. Either he's lying or he's telling the truth. I like to think when he says that he's being honest with us. And if he is being honest with us, that's evil. It doesn't matter that he didn't mandate it. Strong-arming the FDA to rush 2 mRNA vaccines and a Johnson & Johnson vaccine out because you're friends with Johnson & Johnson CEO or whatever, that's evil, guys. And this country doesn't become good again and godly again if a bunch of people put up with evil. If a bunch of people say, well, he's orange and he's, an elephant, he's a red elephant, so I'm just going to ignore that and just say he didn't mandate it. That's not good enough, folks. That's why this country's falling apart. I could say some other things now that'll get me in trouble, but this country's falling apart for many reasons, okay? And people aren't strong enough. It's not because of just the Democrats. It's because the Republican Party's pathetic. 4 years of our guy ends in lockdown, Operation Warp Speed, and Trump running around saying he saved 100 million lives. If that's good enough for you, you deserve it. This country's going to end up like communist China. This country's going to end up being failed when we have a bunch of people like Ted Cruz and Donald Trump getting applauded at a PSA concert, acting like they're the Beatles, when they're deceivers. So this is my point, is I understand that it makes sense to vote Republican in November, and I will, because I don't want to get locked down for 4 years. But you got to stop saying, if you're honest, if you're a liar, I don't care. If you're honest, you got to just stop saying because Donald Trump didn't mandate the vaccine, that means that he's totally innocent because the mandate's the only evil thing. That's not true. In my opinion, it's evil to put a pharmacy lobbyist at the head of HHS. And when you do something like that, you get evil results. You get Operation Warp Speed, you get lockdown, you get a phase plan. And Donald Trump really is the orchestrator and the quarterback of the whole vaccine scheme from start to finish. He did all of it, not the mandate, but while he was in office, he's part of all of it. And it's very evil, in my opinion, to strong arm and try to rush something out to the public, knowing damn well the pharmacy lobbyist gave you a liability shield. So they had no liability for side effects and injuries under the PrEP Act. I knew that. Trump knew that. Pfizer knew that. Moderna knew that. I have a soul, so I did reporting on it. And Trump apparently lost or sold his soul, so he won't speak on it. He won't speak on injuries. He won't speak about the PrEP Act. He won't speak because he's in on it. Just because he didn't mandate it doesn't mean he's not in on it. So, say what you want, believe what you want, but if you really want to know the true character of this man, and listen, I voted for him. I liked him. At one point, I thought he really was a righteous, a soulful man. But along the way, he lost or sold his soul. And if you want to see the true character of him, nothing shows the true character like this Maria Bartiromo interview from last year. In the height of the mandates, in the height of all these pandemic restrictions, millions of people are losing their job. Maria Bartiromo asked him a question about the mandates, and I want you to listen to his answer. A real man or a real leader would have addressed the issue and really said something extremely passionate, because you got millions of military members, doctors, nurses, your supporters. We're all getting strong-armed. We're all getting treated like animals, and we're looking to you, Donald Trump, and being like, you're our leader. Do you have something of importance to say to us? And listen to what Donald Trump says, and try to ignore the fact that Maria Bartiromo just screeches like a parrot. I'm not trying to be mean. I mean, she's a nice woman, but I can't believe people watch a show like this. She just screeches like sounding like a harpy. But if this doesn't show you Donald Trump's true character and true leadership and what he cares about, I don't know what will. Here's the clip. Enjoy.
I want to get your take on needing proof to go into restaurants, needing proof of a vaccine to go into certain stores. Your thoughts on where we are with these new mask mandates coming back. And now the FDA has approved a coronavirus booster shot. The administration is getting set to recommend a third shot for the fully vaccinated. Sir, would you get a booster shot?
Let me tell you, I'm very proud of the vaccines. The vaccines weren't supposed to happen for 3 to 5 years. I brought the FDA in. Nobody has talked to the FDA like I did. They don't like me very much. We have a vaccine, and it's saving millions of lives throughout the world. I think we'd have a Spanish flu situation like in 1917. I really do. I believe that. And we're, maybe 100 million people, 50 million, 100 million people like that. So I'm very proud of the vaccine. I've taken the vaccine. I'm very, very proud of it. At the same time, some people don't want to take it. And, when I was president, you didn't have this problem with people not wanting to take it. They don't take it because they don't trust Biden, and they don't trust the Biden administration. When I was president, you didn't have people protesting the vaccine. If you just think back, everybody wanted to get it. And we were giving out over 1 million shots a day. We had that thing rocking. And he's now president, and he's doing a lousy job with coronavirus. Coronavirus is back. If that ever happened to me where it came back, okay, when I left, it was virtually gone. It was over. It was a path. Now it's coming back through the Delta, and I don't know if you even want to call it that. All you call it is the China virus is back. And so why is he doing a good job? He did a bad job with SARS, the H1N1, very bad job, a joke of a job, a horrible job. All of a sudden they said, oh, he's doing so well. I'm the one that did well. I'm the one that got all the equipment. I'm the one that got the vaccine. I'm the one that did well. If it came back, can you imagine if I were president and it came back at a level where it's just as bad right now in some cases? The press would decimate.
I mean, if that doesn't wake you up, I don't know what will. Do you remember what the question was, guys? He went off on a 3-minute tangent just saying the most ridiculous stuff. She asked him, what do you think about all these mandates, and do you want to get the booster? I'm the one who did the vaccine. I'm the one who did it. Me. That's who he is. The whole country. Guys, when I stand on a stage, I don't even have to think about it that much. I don't even have to have a script. My soul is speaking for me. I could stand in front of 1 million nurses and be like, my soul will write the speech. It's like, I am so opposed to this evil of the mandates of the, I don't need to think about what I'm going to say. I just speak from the heart. She asked him the most important question of last year, which is all of your supporters are basically getting beaten down by these restrictions. No, it's not your fault. We're not saying you did it, but what's your solution? What's your answer to it? We want leadership. Donald Trump, you're our leader. What do you have to say about these mandates? He has nothing to say to you guys. He looks at you like peasants, like, oh, I'm the one who did the vaccine. I saved the world. There would be no mandates if I was in office because everybody would have wanted to get the vaccine. That makes no sense, guys. He doesn't care. It's so obvious, but the longer people keep cheering for it, the longer this movement falls apart. And this is what I'm going to say just to end it off, just to be clear for anybody who's just joining. I'm keeping this brief. I want this to be a very informative video that stands to it. The Washington Post and many other mainstream reports are now blaming Donald Trump for pressuring the FDA and rushing through safety trials. Donald Trump is on stage admitting he did that. He's proud of it. And this is what happens. Pride comes before the fall. When you're so proud of your vaccine corruption, when you're so proud of emergencies and billions of dollars to socialism and rushing these to the public and shielding them from liability and never talking about side effects because you're the father of the vaccine, you're not protected by God anymore. I don't care who you are. Me, Trump, Dan Bongino, DeSantis, okay? We're all human beings, all right? And we have to follow the same rules. Nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. But if you're doing the level of evil and deceit that Donald Trump's been doing over the last 2 years and you're so proud of your evil, you're no better than the left. I mean, you're going to fall because that's how the world works. If you believe in, karma, the golden rule, and God, it's like no one man can sit up there and say, I saved 100 million lives. I'm so proud of my corruption. I'm so proud of rushing them. Okay, if you want the credit, if you listen to his videos, he wants credit for the vaccine. He wants credit, not Fauci, not the FDA, nobody else, not the left. It's Donald Trump's vaccine. He's the one who rushed it out to the public within a couple months instead of a year or a couple of years. If that's the case, then sure, it's your vaccine, Donald Trump. Now the left is joining us and saying, yeah, it is your vaccine. They're trying to be like, yeah, I guess, if for some reason they start to get to the point where they can't cover it up forever and the truth starts to come out, and now they have a fall guy. It's you, Donald Trump. They'll be like, well, the product's not bad, but the reason it's doing bad is because Donald Trump rushed it through safety trials. And you deserve all of that on your shoulders, Trump, because you asked for this. Everybody saw this coming, and it's so wild to see it happening. You deserve credit. You're the father of the vaccines. Every side effect that you refuse to talk about, Donald Trump, every injury that you refuse to talk about from that product, Donald Trump, every death that you refuse to talk about, Donald Trump, that's been protected under the PrEP Act, so you, Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson don't have to talk about it. Every single one of them, from the bottom of your soul and your heart, I don't care how much money and power and fame you have, you should know you're the father of the vaccine. You own it. You're the one who brags about rushing through safety trials to get it to the public. So congratulations. It's all on your shoulders. I don't know how you live with yourself like that because, I don't know why I'm the only one who's willing to say it to you, Donald Trump. I guess Alex Jones is now saying it to you. He's calling you a phony and a liar, and he's starting to call you out. But I guess the rest of your supporters have no spine. I don't know. I guess America is just like a following movement now. A lot of people just want to run around in circles, and they don't want to tell you. But I'll tell you, dude, it's embarrassing. Your leadership is pathetic. I don't care how many people cheer for you. It saved 100 million lives. Liar. You saved the Spanish flu. Liar. You saved the world. It's the greatest human achievement. Liar. You're lying. I know you're lying. You know you're lying. Your audience knows they're lying, but for some reason they don't respect themselves enough to tell you that it's dumb and you got to stop. Apparently, a lot of influencers just want money and fame and donor money, and they want to sell Trump 2024 sweaters to make money or something, so they can't tell the truth or their audience will turn on them. I don't care. My soul is screaming out. You're getting what you deserve. You're the father of the vaccine. You rushed the FDA. Now the media is agreeing with you. They're saying, yep, he's the one who rushed it. Yep, he rushed it through safety trials. So obvious. And let's see what plays out. But whether something happens or not, you have the karma of every single thing that comes along with rushing this to the public. He didn't defend or save a lockdown. People will say, they'll make up a fake theory and say, oh, Donald Trump saved the world from a lockdown. Guys, stop conflating Marvel with humanity, okay? A lot of people can't face reality, so they have to make it into like a Marvel script. Any day he's going to arrest Jeffrey Epstein, except the fact that Jeffrey Epstein got off the hook and nobody cares anymore. It's like, you can't just conflate this with Marvel and say, oh, he saved the world from a 5-year lockdown. You were going to stay locked down for 5 years? You're that pathetic? You think we would have been locked down for 5 years if Donald Trump didn't funnel a bunch of money in a corrupt big pharma scheme? That's the dumbest theory that's been created in the MAGA echo chamber, because this is the movement now. People don't want to question things. They don't want to connect the dots. They just want to sit there and become professional excuse makers. If Republicans focused on solutions, if Republicans had a spine, and if Republicans prioritized standing up for themselves passionately, like they prioritized making excuses for stupid stuff, maybe we would actually accomplish something. But instead, you hatch this stupid theory in your head and say, the only way to stop a 5-year lockdown is to give Big Pharma all this money and power. That makes no sense. There's no evidence for that. That's not why they rushed it. He didn't rush it to save you. Are you dumb? Are you weak? Have you become evil? Have you lost your mind? He rushed a bunch of money to Big Pharma to save me. Yeah, would you be saying that if Hillary Clinton did it? Of course not. Would you be saying that if Joe Biden did it, or Mitt Romney did it, or Ted Cruz did that? No. Would anybody have a career if they ran around saying the vaccine saved 100 million lives and it's the greatest human achievement? He's brainwashed his base. If Candace Owens said the vaccine's the greatest human achievement and it saved 100 million lives, she would be, her career would be over. If Tucker Carlson said that, his career would be over. If I said it rightfully, my career would be over. If DC Drano said it, his career would be over. If Laura Ingraham said that, her career would be over. If Hannity said that, he might still have a career because he's a sneaky little guy. But you get what I'm saying. Any big right-wing influencer, conservative influencer, MAGA influencer, whatever, if anybody repeated the lies and the big pharma stuff saying, I'm the father of the vaccine, I rushed the FDA, I saved 100 million lives, it's the greatest human achievement in modern history, everybody would abandon them and be like, what a fraud. But somehow this guy has programmed his base into thinking that that's cool. It's cool to rush it through safety trials. It's cool to rush it to the public. It's cool to put a pharmacy lobbyist at the head of HHS who provides a liability shield for big pharma so they can make tens of billions upon hundreds of billions upon eventually, if this keeps going, trillions of dollars and have no liability for every person who gets a side effect or an injury from their product. You think that's cool? You're not a good person just because you put on a MAGA hat. You're not a good person just because you put an elephant on your shirt and say Trump, Trump, Trump. You're not a good person. Yeah, you're better than Ilhan Omar at geopolitics, but who cares? Save your soul. People got to wake up because none of this changes until people have an internal awakening. And, I'm not the only one that's starting to see it. And the longer you let this stuff go, the more deceit is going to happen. God bless you guys. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. I'll be back at 6 o'clock to talk to Jorge Ventura, who is a reporter at the border, to talk about how crazy the border is. He's there. He's got videos of it. It's ridiculous what's going on at our border. It's insane. And I have one of the best journalists in the country who's there, on the ground to talk about it. So he's going to join me at 6 because that's when he could come in. Appreciate you guys. Share this video if you like it and have a wonderful day. Thank you to everybody who had the patience to listen to what I'm saying. It's appreciated.